Hello friends, welcome to this lecture on cloud computing. In the last lecture we study that why we should learn cloud computing. So similarly it is very essential to understand what is cloud computing before we log into AWS or Azure. So it would be very helpful or for you to deploy the infrastructure onto Azure once you understand or have a solid understanding that okay what actually the cloud computing is. Forget about Azure or AWS for a time. Just try to grasp the concept of cloud computing. So we'll start by the definition first. So there are a number of definitions if you'll search onto the internet which are trying to define the cloud computing. So there are many definitions today which attempt to address cloud platform from the perspective of academics, architects, engineers, or you could say providers or consumers. But there should be one single definition which defines the cloud computing. We can say that okay, this is it. Now I understand the cloud computing. So for a decade almost the research was going on, and it was very difficult for the organizations to define the cloud computing, that actually what cloud is. So I would say the NIST, after a very long research, they provided a definition, this long definition. So don't worry about this long definition. So just we'll go through it once only, and once we study all the different characteristics and all those things, then again we'll come to this definition and it would be very easy for you, believe me in that. So for this slide, so that you should know that okay, NIST created this definition, and for us to move on to the next slide, wherein we study that okay, how this long definition came into the picture. So it would be good if you can just go through it once with me. Cloud computing, you can say, is a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources like network, server, storage, application, and services that can be rapidly provisioned and released with the minimal management effort of service provider interaction. This model is composed of five essential characteristics, three service model and three deployment models. So we'll probably see what are these service models, deployment models in this lecture only. So let's study that, okay, how this definition came into picture, what kind of research was going on. So really before NIST, there was no clear definition about 2007, 8, there was no clear definition, and organizations were working or trying to understand that, okay, what does cloud computing is, because there were small vendors there in the market and they were trying to capture market, and even customers were trying to reap the benefits of cloud. So there was one definition, in fact, which was created by NST, but it was still in draft till 2009. So, before NIST, the scenario was totally different. Let me share you a story. Before NIST, there were small vendors within the market. They were trying to capture the market. Even customers, they were trying to use the services of the cloud provider, and they were thinking that okay, they can deploy their infra quickly and they can start running the business, but the kind of benefits customers were looking for in case of service providers, they were not getting that. And even it was not clear for the service providers as well that okay, what kind of services they should provide, what kind of baselines they should have. Even they were not having the clear idea, because different kind of enterprises, they were coming and trying to load their infra onto the cloud. Even for the cloud users, similarly, they were not having set baseline in front of them that okay, I want to use AWS cloud or Azure cloud, or let's say Oracle cloud, right? So in that case, what should I look for? How do I compare? What should I look for? Will my infra will be good? So we'll be able to deploy quickly. So it should not be like if Netflix and you can say that one other online streaming organization is there. So Netflix is charged for the other organization and the other organization charged for the Netflix. So there should be a transparency in the billing. So all those things, as an organizations, they were looking before moving on to the cloud. So there was a lack of clear baseline for the customers as well. So you can see before NIST came into picture, or they provided the definition which we have seen in the last slide. So in that case, for the cloud vendors, you can say the less trust was there. They were not able to attract a good amount of customers. Customers were reluctant to use the cloud service because no baseline was there. Even they were thinking that okay, how they'll be charged for different services. For the cloud service provider, they were having very less use case, because if the customers would not be coming, how you'll be having use cases or case studies to represent it to the next customers. So enterprises, they were not very satisfied because the contracts were not clear when they were trying to use the cloud services. More expenditure, you can say, no clear guidelines, no stringent SLAs or variation in the contracts, no baselines were there, right? So when NIST came into the picture and they provided those baselines or those five characteristics, so they provided actually five characteristics to make this bond better. So NIST said that, okay, if you are a cloud service provider, just look on these five characteristics. If you can provide more than five, it would be very good. But if you'll pay concentration on those five characteristics, and we'll come to those five characteristics in the next slide, you'll have a good business, you'll have an increased trust, more business, customers would be ready to experiment, and you'll be having a huge case repository, right? You'll be able to earn much more than you think if you'll provide these five characteristics, or if to your customers, right? So as a cloud service provider, they got that, okay, I'll if we'll work on these five characteristics, we'll have resource pooling and broad network access and all those things, then we can provide a good service to our customers and earn good amount of money. See, from a service provider, any service provider, their main aim is customer satisfaction, and the second is money, which is the byproduct, right? So similarly, they got the clue that, okay, we'll be able to provide good services by adopting these five characteristics which NIST provided, and will have a happy customers. So for customers, what is the main, or for the enterprises, what is main goal? That they should be able to save money, have a good business, right? They should have a internal happy customers, and at the top level, C level, they should be able to save money while deploying the infra onto the cloud. So that motto was, you can say, solved after NIST came into the picture. Earlier, they were all struggling, and cloud vendors were not getting that kind of business, users were not getting that kind of services. So after NIST, you can say the satisfied customers were there, less expenditure, they were having a transparency in the billing. So one organization is not being charged for the other. So clear contracts and clear baselines for the enterprises. So just remember what we studied, that okay, for both to check, or the baseline was to check for those five characteristics. Don't worry, we'll dig into those five characteristics one by one so that you can have a solid understanding of cloud computing. So this is the definition, you can say a definition or a note which was provided by the scientist of NIST. So by default, if you're not aware about NISTs, if you're not from a security background, NIST is National Institutes of Standard and Technology, which works worldwide, is a body which works on the standardization of things, right? So they prepared a standard, you can say, for cloud computing as well. So just go onto the internet and study what is NIST, National Institutes of Standard and Technology. So they have developed various standards related to various technologies, related to the application security and all those things. So NIST scientists say that now they have a tool to determine, like I said, extent to which the information implementation technologies they are considering to meet the cloud characteristics and models. This is very important because by adopting an authentic cloud, which will be providing those five characteristics, they are more likely to reap the benefits of cloud, right? I said that if they are having those five characteristics, they can have cost saving, energy savings, rapid deployment, and customer employment. So that was the thing, like a kind of a tool was being provided by the NIST for the customers as well as for the service providers. So let's move on to the next slide. So what comprises of this cloud computing, right? So like I said, those five characteristics, service models and deployment models. So what are those five essential characteristics which CSP, cloud service provider like AWS, Azure or GCP, they need to have in their infra, like on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured service. So you can check for the utility like models onto the internet also, that okay, what exactly it is. But these are the five essential characteristics, still measured service. Similarly, if you are a cloud customer, you need to look for these five characteristics, till measured service, when you are looking or choosing for the cloud provider or a cloud vendor. You can check that, okay, whether it provides on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, or a managed service. So this is the baseline which you need to look for, and you'll be able to run your business in a good way. Similarly, these are the different service model, whether you want to use infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, like you need a VM from a scratch and then you want to deploy an infrastructure platform, you may be requiring a database, and software as a service, like you're having HR applications and the box is there, right? Dropbox is there, so Office 365. So different things are there depending on the service you want to choose. So there are different models, right? And different models will be having different responsibilities. So similarly, deployment model, whether you want to use only your private cloud and or a public cloud or a hybrid cloud, you want to use both the public cloud and the private cloud. So this is the main thing which is being used by the organization for the large enterprise. If you're a small organization, they are good to go with the public cloud. So we'll come to this in different lecture in detail as well. So this is it, friend, in this lecture. I hope you really enjoyed this lecture. So thank you, friends. Thank you for watching.